At this time, we're going to have the marketing and public relations for the Greer campaign expression by Jason Bramlett. Come on, give him a hand as he comes.
Well, good evening. We've got a special speaker for you this evening. I'll go ahead and work with this technology and see if we can bring them up. Apparently we have a 15-second countdown. Okay, Jabari, can you hear me?
I can.
Well, you are here at the Greer campaign's graduation event. And
can they see me?
Yes, we can hear you and we welcome you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank everybody for coming. I'm honored and humbled by everybody who made this possible. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to come into the second graduating class of the Greer campaign's Fathers of the Program. This has been a realization of a mission God entrusted upon me 5 years ago when I was a young father in desperate need of another father's encouragement, of his support. And now we have graduated 13 men. We've handed out 600 turkeys, fostered countless lifelong relationships, and have brought the issue of fatherhood to the forefront of the community in which I love dearly. So thank you to the incredible men that have invested their souls, their hearts into our program. Graduates Michael Greer, Michael Traylor, Mitch Miller, Kyle Lamb, Brian Kukoc, Kevin Brandon, William Comer, Antonio Williamson, and Mark Watson. I'd like to thank you for giving your time and your efforts to our program, to our campaign. Really be and push us forward to where we're going. And I'm honored and humbled by your sacrifice. Also like to thank our staff who has worked countless hours to devote their souls to our mission. Sandra Stewart, Eric Bauer, Mike Roby, Rob McKinney. I mean, without you, it wouldn't be possible. Jason and Don Bramlett, you know, the work that y'all, Bobby Lynn, Bobby King, the work that y'all have done to really help us. And the belief that y'all have had in us it's been incredible. Just being able to walk with you and share our vision and share this time, this gift God has given us. It's been incredible. Without you, couldn't tap. Tonight, without sponsors without financial contributions, it wouldn't have been possible. We have the Jackson Energy Store, the City of Jackson, which is a continued supporter of the West Tennessee Healthcare, and Lake Pappas, which we're going to hearing from him later. Greg T.F. Jackson, who have been incredibly motivational and moving and believing in our campaign. It's been thank you all for everything that y'all done. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible. And finally, I'd like to thank an awesome guy who is using Jackson, Tennessee, small home, humble Tennessee, as an example for true change. To be able to do this, incredible.
Your audio's coming in and out just a little bit.
What's the last thing you heard?
We want to thank everyone who's been here and the sponsors. Some of the sponsors were coming in and out, but I believe...
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, of course, we need to acknowledge the people who pop Jackson Industry Authority. Obviously, they continue order for us. It's huge in our mission. PCA, Nick and Lynn Pappas, in which she's going to speak later. Greg and Tia Axton, I mean, they've been central to the things that we've been doing. You know, they've been working hand and foot to be able to make sure that this campaign is successful. And like I said before, I want to thank, first and foremost, most important, I want to thank an awesome God who is using Jackson, Tennessee as a catalyst for true world change. You know, in my hometown, Jackson, Tennessee, to be able to do this, to be able to change the world, you know, one father at a time, change perception of fatherhood in a place, starting out in a place like Jackson, Tennessee. You know, who would have thought it? But, you know, it's been incredible, and I'm honored, and I'm humbled, and I'm thankful for the platform to be able to do this in my hometown. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. And even though your financial resources are greatly appreciated tonight, what we need more than anything are men, our fathers willing and able to go out there and get involved with our campaign. We need men to step up, not only get involved with the program, but with the community service aspects that we have. With everything that we're doing, we need more men to step up and say, you know what, I want to encourage another father, I want to encourage another man that might need it, because we all need it, you know. So I don't want to get long-winded. I want to humble myself and thank everybody for showing up. I saw my kids out there. I saw Jada and Jeremiah out there. They look incredible.
There you go.
Hey, y'all. Can you hear me? Am I going in and out?
No, you're here. Can you hear him? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? There you go.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, hear me?
When I plug in my mic, it interferes with your sound.
Okay.
Okay, they can hear you. Oops.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that you can hear me. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. And I want to encourage everybody to get involved with what we're doing there. These men have invested their hearts and souls into encouraging each other. And fatherhood is something that we can't do alone. We need our wives. We need our leaders. We need our children. And we need each other to be able to make this something successful and to lead our families. And we invite you to see what we're doing, and we invite you to be a part of the Greer campaign going forward. So thank you. I love you, Jackson. I love the support and everything that y'all doing for us. Keep on with it. All right, thank you.
Let's show them support. Thank you, Jabari. Thank you for everything you've done for us. We appreciate it. And now we'll have Sandy Stewart with the Greer campaign.
Thank you and welcome. You've just heard our leader and our founder tell you a little bit about the Greer campaign and welcome you and apologize for him not being here due to no fault of his own. He's owned by the NFL and they tell him where to go. and when to go. So we apologize for that, but we make no mistakes for what we had, and so we are thankful that we were able to even Skype them in. We're thankful for the technology. I want to give you a little bit of example about the Greer campaign, and then I want to tell you about some of the people that are working with us. The Greer campaign was started about 5 years ago. We've actually been working now 2 years. This is our 3rd class that graduated. We'll be graduating 2 classes on tonight. On Monday nights, fathers get together. And something happens when fathers get together. And you will see tonight when these graduates come across the stage that they look like every one of you out there. They look like all colors or all races. They come from all socioeconomic standings. They have different political parties or affiliations. But the one common goal that they have and the one commonality that they have is that they are fathers. And there is no place that I know of in Jackson that fathers can come to get advice, to get solace, to get compassion, understanding. We have that campaign in Jackson. 2 different men from different sides of Jackson, meeting each other, maybe being a little frightened or a little afraid to see each other. But now they call themselves brothers because they know that they are now one and they are connected by something that's called fatherhood. Fatherhood is so important. The Greer campaign holds this fatherhood class. It's a 12-week class, and it's on Mondays for 2 hours. The first hour, there is a curriculum portion, and that curriculum portion, it stems from the difference between a mother's role and a father's role. What to do in conflicting situations when conflict arises. How you affect your kids emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And it goes on and on and on. This, by no means, is a deadbeat dad program. Our program are fathers who have come voluntarily to say, I'm interested in it. Am I doing it right? Is there something else I can do? And then they come together, and then we have something, what you call a community service. We get out there because we know it's by our service that the Greer campaign will be known. So we go in and we service. We give our service. One of our service events was the turkey handoff. Many of you know that that's a football term. Handoff is a football term. The quarterback hands the football off to the running back to make a play. Jabari has written a letter for the dads that come down and are the recipients of the turkey, to take the turkey where their children are. So the Greer campaign are handing turkeys off to fathers to run to their children's dinner table wherever that child may be. You might think that that's just something just really minute. But when a child can see the father bringing something tangible, the child's sight of their father changes. And that's what the Greer campaign is all about. We are about changing the perception of fatherhood. We have a scripture that we have adopted, and that's Malachi 4:4-6. And I will turn the hearts of the father toward his children, and I will turn the children's hearts toward their fathers. And at the end of that, it tells you what happens if it doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen, it says that the land will be cursed, that he will curse the land. So will you please help us. We need this city. This city is our starting point. Jabari said last year that we're going to try to be in every major city or at least most major cities in 10 years. Jackson, you have a unique opportunity to be the birthplace of where it all began. You can be the example. Please help us. We have, not only do we have our fatherhood class an hour from 6 to 7, but then we have what you call enrichment impact, and that lasts from 7 to 8. From 7 to 8 is where our fathers come in and they work things out. This is what's going on in my life. Couldn't see my child because of. I'm having a great day today, man. What about you? But it is in an absolute atmosphere where there are no women, there are no mothers. They feel absolutely free to share, talk about their experiences. Something happens when God-fearing men get together and they're all on one accord and they want to be the best father ever. We have good fathers, we have awesome dads, but they want to know, is there anything else I can do better? We take them and we keep them and we embrace them and they commit themselves to their community and to the Greer campaign men. And to become a Greer campaign man. To become a Greer campaign man means that we're shooting the high mark. So we want to know that our men are active citizens, that they are doing their civic duties, that they are serving well, and that they are men that we can be proud of. And I thank you. We've had some people that I really want to introduce. First of all, Jabari probably was going through his speech so fast that he forgot to announce our counselor, and that's Mr. Eric Bausch, and we want to thank him. Eric gave the welcome. He unselfishly gives of his time. He calls, he checks, he talks, he does group counseling, he does individual counseling. He's there for our men whenever they need him. Next, I want to introduce our counselor, April Elgin Ricketts, or Agent Ricketts, stand up there. She's our counselor. And whenever our men are worthy and need counsel in the court, she's the one who represents them. We also want to recognize our facilitator of our second class, Mike Roby. Mike. And our facilitator of our third class, who you will remember as a graduate of our first class, Mr. Rod McKinney. So it's glad to know that our men are going on to be facilitators and that they're staying with us. And we thank you. During the summer, we had something called Run Jackson. And there were many of you who helped out. And I would just like to call the Run Jackson committee here just so we can hand out some awards to those who were our sponsors and those who played an awesome task in doing what we did. So those of you who had a part in Run Jackson and was on the committee, come forward, please. race, and there were many who came with our 5K race. And after our 5K race, we had what we call the Heroes Race. And they consisted of the police, the fire department, and the military. And we want to ask Wesley Williams from the National Guard. Are you here? Come forward, please. Give him a hand. For our armed forces, we definitely thank you for your service. You will notice that this is a perpetual trophy, so we expect it back so that we can pass it. So that we can pass it on. We can only loan it to you. Okay, congratulations. Thank you.
We have a representative from the Jackson Police Department, Darius Beaman.
That's Officer Rochelle Staley. Thank you so much.
I want to make sure you all hear me when I call this name out. Representative from the Jackson Fire Department, Mr. Dwayne Seals. Well, if he's not here, I'm just going to put this trophy on my mantle tonight and act like I won the race.
No, we'll give it to him later. Thank you. Is there a representative from Best One Tire? Is there a representative from Churchill Mortgage? Tanya? Yes, the Greer campaign would like to thank Churchill Mortgage. Thank you for your sponsorship of Run Jackson 2012. Thank you. There are representatives from Royal Furniture. Bob, do we have a picture for this? Okay. I want to say something very, very special about Liberty, because as we look for a band for our 1 Mile Family March, and that was to show unity the day before Father's Day, to show unity, we needed a band and we needed a clip. And we want you to know that Liberty Technology Magnet School steps up, and we really appreciate them, and Dr. June Murray is that important. to do it and to pull it off like we did, but it was wonderful. So we would like the mayor, is there anyone here from downtown development? Okay. Okay, so Katie and Caroline said they couldn't be here, so we would like the mayor to accept this in their honor. This is a visit to our, just to say thank you.
Let's give the executive director of the Greer campaign another hand. At this time, we're going to have two testimonials from the Greer campaign. Our first testimony will be Kevin Brandon, and followed by Rod McKinney. Come on, put your hands together for him.
Well, good evening. At first, I want to thank the Greer campaign for even offering the fatherhood program, and Miss Sandy for coordinating the classroom study guides and the instructors for the meetings. Specifically, Eric and Rod for keeping us in line for the 13-week program. I appreciate it, Eric, and you guys, you did a great job. If you'd have told me 9 years ago that I would have 4 daughters under 8 years old, I would have told you that that's impossible. But God has a plan for me and my wife Rebecca, and we now have 4 beautiful little girls, Stephanie, Elizabeth, Chelsea, and Emily. And in that relatively short period of time, we went from being a young married couple that survived my first deployment in Iraq to changing jobs, moving to Knoxville, changing jobs, moving back to Jackson, now working full-time as a major for the Tennessee National Guard. Throughout my career in the military, we've always received training on the new positions and jobs that we hold, and we clearly understood our duties and responsibilities. But as a father, there's little to no training or guidance. Most of us just leave the hospital with our newborn children, not knowing what to expect. So the first time I heard about the Greer campaign's classes, I was very interested. Jabari was being interviewed by Dan Reeves on the 101.5 show, And I remember writing down the website and finally getting around to logging onto it to check it out. But it wasn't until the next month, I believe, that I heard about the Greer campaign's 5K fun run in Jackson. And I said, okay, I'll give this a shot. And when I was running, I think we were 2 miles into it, this guy named Mike Roby came running up next to me. He said something like, I like your pace, I'm going to stay with you. And I was going pretty slow. So for the last mile, we talked about the fatherhood program and how I was thinking about attending this class. He eliminated any reservations I had about the course and assured me that I will be a better father even before the course is over with. See, before this class, my understanding of a good father was only to provide and protect my family, to make sure they had a home, food, and safety from any danger. Well, it should be no surprise to any of us that those are the things a father is supposed to do. Unfortunately, we too often measure ourselves against what society considers a good father. Or we're susceptible to saying, at least I'm better than that guy. What intrigued me about a fatherhood training class is that I was finally going to gather with other men to study and discuss what fathering skills are critical to being a good father. The curriculum we followed was the 24/7 Dad Fathering Handbook that centers on the understanding that truly the work of a dad is never done and that being a 24/7 dad requires you to be the best that you can be. And it works. During this course, I've adapted much of the instruction in my life and in my family's. In the classes, we discussed family history, of which I'm very proud of my father, Mike Brandon, who is here with me tonight, my grandfathers, who instilled core values in me at a very young age. In the class, we covered what it means to be a man, showing and handling feelings, both physical and mental, of which this course spurred me back into exercising at 5 a.m. in the morning. I ran 5Ks, 10Ks, and just yesterday I finished the St. Jude Half Marathon. We learned how important communication is with our family, and that hearing and listening to what they have to say honors them and sends a good message. We reviewed a father's role as a parent and a husband, and how essential it is for me to set an example to my daughters of a man they should look to be with one day. We studied about how discipline is not supposed to be punishment. Disciplining your children should be to teach and guide them and make sure they understand what you expect and that they would do the right thing all the time. It's about getting involved and growing with your children in life and setting realistic goals for your children and knowing how to react when they achieve them or when they don't achieve them. We studied how to help our children do well in school with ways we can enhance learning at home. And one of our final chapters covered balancing work and family, and that finding that balance is critical to being a better dad and husband. And additionally, while the book didn't specifically cover spiritual health, the class and Eric and Rod and Sandy made sure that at the beginning of the class and at the end we prayed, and we always open with prayer and close with prayer, giving thanks for all that has been given to us. The class covered a lot of information and ideas of things that I can do better as a father. And it was my goal at the beginning, if the course can improve my abilities as a father in just one area, it would be worth it. In no way am I completed with being a 24/7 dad, but I feel as though these tools and the friends I've earned, without a doubt, make me a better husband and father for the rest of my life. Again, I want to thank you for giving the opportunity to participate in this program. Thank you.
How y'all doing this afternoon? First of all, I would like to thank all of y'all for coming out to support these graduates on this day. It's a very special moment for these guys. I could have wrote what I had to say today, but I think the best speech in the world is a speech that comes from the heart. Because when it comes from the heart, it's the truth. Last year at this time, I was a graduate. And as I was on my journey through my graduation, I didn't have no one here. But this year, I got a whole family. I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. I was on my journey and I was going on a path in a direction I didn't know which way to go. And I was on the verge of giving up. But through that journey, God was dealing with me, working with me, and working on me. Bending me, twisting me, tossing me, turning. Now usually I'm shy, but I'm getting fired up. So y'all get with me. Mike Robin, on my journey, we was on our way to Nashville to do some work where we work at Youth Town. And I shared some things with him that was going on with me, and I told him, I said, you know, the sad part about it is I really can't experience that. I hadn't really had a family, you know. I have a family, but I'm not really where I want to be or where I need to be. Mike said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, got this program going on. He said, I'm a facilitator. Why don't you check it out? Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I was thinking to myself, oh, 12 weeks, 2 hours a day. Where we gonna go with this, or where is it gonna go? But the first time I visited that program, it really touched me. It taught me how to deal with conflict. It also brought the traits that's already supposed to be inside us, like loving, caring, giving. I had a wise man tell me one time, if you take the word P off of preach, it stands for reach. I had a man that reached out to me and gave me his time and took me under his wing like a brother. I grew up without my father, but that go to show you that somebody can break that cycle. But through that time, in those 12 and a half years that I've been at Youth Town, I can say that I did not have to stand alone. I had a father, and that man, his name is Mr. Nick Pavish. And I give him honor today because out of all the times or whatever I went through, he never gave up on me. He kept pushing and pushing and pushing me. He's a very, very spiritual man, family man, loving man, caring man. He would give you his last if he know you really need it. Last year, I was struggling with the relationship with my kids. But this year, I'm able to stand here and tell all of y'all that I'm sorry for not being the father that I was supposed to be because I was scared of conflict. But I can also tell my kids that I'm sorry for what I've done to them. But through the grace of God, God was working in them all along. And guess what he did? When I called those kids that night and told them that I wanted to be back in their life, after I had the conversation that I should have probably had a long time ago with their mother, they all opened up the door in their arms with warm welcome. It was like times was never missed, times was never lost. But through that journey, I started believing. I started stepping out on faith, and I put the Lord and Savior as my high Savior, number one in my life. The reason why I enjoy facilitating with the Greer campaign, because the Greer campaign didn't just make me a better father, but it made me a better man in the community. And I'd like to say thank y'all.
Those two wonderful testimonies on behalf of the Greer campaign. At this time, we're going to have our new partnerships done by Sandy Stewart. Come on, put your hands together for our executive director of the Greer campaign. Isn't she lovely tonight? Just beautiful.
We have been blessed to have partners. We mentioned some, and now we want to bring up one that we have been partners with. Actually, we have space in their building, and she's new, and we want you all to welcome her into our city. You've probably seen her on TV, ringing bells or whatever, but you know, just give her some love because she's here with her two children. And we just thank her for being able to occupy a space, having a safe place for our men to go. Major Jane Buster from the Salvation Army.
I never seem to be able to sneak up on anybody. We are so grateful to be a part of this campaign, to become a partner. We are partners in mission because we truly, truly, truly believe in the holistic ministry that the Greer campaign provides. Mentoring families, mentoring fathers, making them the best that they can be makes a better Jackson. And we believe in your mission. We support your ministry wholeheartedly, and I'm so glad we get to be a part of this. So thank you for what you do in our community. Thank you.
Next, we have just partnered with these people that I'm getting ready to introduce. And I'll have them come up and we'll tell you more about what it is we partner. But many of you know that the Greer campaign is just not a campaign for fathers, but we campaign for kids. And we campaign for kids in service and in deeds. And it is under our campaign for kids that we have chose to partner with an organization who children are at the very core of what they do, and that's Fawn's Shoes, Mr. and Mrs. Mitch Miller. Come forward.
Well, thanks, Sandy. And, you know, Sandy talks about the Greer campaign being blessed by the partnerships that they're involved with. And I can tell you that Lisa and I just feel incredibly blessed that they want to partner with us and help us. We're a fledgling shoe company, and but we do have a mission, and our mission is to help impoverished kids all over the states. Our shoes, whenever somebody purchases a pair of our shoes, we give away a pair of shoes to a child in need here in the United States. And we go a bit further than that because we believe that sharing Christ is central to everything. We feel incredibly blessed because He loves us, and we need to share that blessing with kids. And so what we do is we also have a distribution partner called Samaritan's Feet, and they've given away over 2 million pairs of shoes over the last 7 years. And we will do shoe distributions in pairs of 400 or more, and that means for every shoe distribution we do, we'll give away 400 to 500 pairs of shoes. And we not only give away the shoes, but we wash these children's feet. We talk to them, we encourage them, we let them know that whatever their situation is right now doesn't have to define their future, that they can have a bright future, and that they can be anything that they want to be as long as they believe in themselves and they know that people love them, and most importantly that God loves them. And so we share the fact that Christ made it possible for them to get their shoes. And we know this works. The founder of Samaritan's Feet, that's exactly what happened to him, and he's gone on to do amazing, wonderful things. But we just, the campaign for kids is all about inspiring hope in kids and building character in kids and letting them know, again, that wherever they are right now doesn't have to define their future, that they have a bright future and they can have a bright future, and they've got people in their corner that want to see them have that bright future. And that's why we're so excited to partner with these guys. So if you do buy our shoes, or when you buy our shoes, not only will we give away a pair of shoes to a child in need here in the States, but we also donate $5 to the Greer Campaign for Kids. So it helps fund their ministry as well, and that's what we're so excited about.
Thank you, Mitch. What we are excited about the Greer campaign, working with Mitch and Lisa, is that there are so many children here in Jackson. You don't even have to go to another city. There are impoverished kids here who need shoes. So they have given us the opportunity to determine where we distribute these shoes. So if the Greer campaign is in Jackson and we raise 400 shoe pair, we raise you buy 400 pair of shoes, then we get to give 400 children that we choose, the Greer campaign, in Jackson. We get to wash their feet in Jackson and tell them how special they are in Jackson. So what you need to do is just go to thegreercampaign.org, click on partners, buy a pair of shoes. They're very reasonable. Their shoes are awesome. He won't tell you what they are. They're interchangeable shoes. But when we get to 400 shoes in here in Jackson, we will have a mass distribution. And we will be calling on many of our volunteers, many of you, to humble yourselves and to come out and to help us.
We are getting to the best part of this program, but before we bring our guest speaker up, we have to introduce him. So I'm going to be privileged to ask our person to introduce him, none other than my husband, Greg Thaxton, of 20 years. He's been with Nick Pappas for 17 years. Come on, welcome Greg as he comes at this time. We count it a blessing to be a part of Youth Count and also the Greer campaign, which is very dear to our hearts. Greg Thaxton.
Good afternoon, everyone. That's just my wife. She loves to put you on the spot. But truly, this is an easy task to do. Truly, I met Mr. Nick about 18 years ago. He invited me to come into the ministry to help children that were very difficult, but it created me and made the person that I am today. So I'm very thankful. He's a very God-fearing man. He's a man that's not only going to require you to do things, but he requires them of himself. That's the reason I love him and I care for him. Every day we have a great relationship. He is like a father figure to me. Matter of fact, he's like a father figure to everyone that works at Youth Town. Because he's just not only our executive director, he's our guide, he's our pastor, he's our disciplinarian, and he's our motivator. And I'm thankful for God for putting him in my life. And our speaker for tonight is none other than Nick Pappas, the executive director of Youth Town.
It's an honor to be here. I got to get my umbrella. Just a second. If you pass these out to the graduates, be sure each one gets one. It is an honor to be here and to be a part of watching what was fulfilled or spoken in Malachi in Jackson, Tennessee, turning the hearts of the fathers back to their children. And I think as long as the Greer campaign is doing this can be and is a blessed city. I know firsthand, I've sat many Bible studies and so forth with Mayor Giss. I know his heart as a leader that is at the city gate, that prays for this city, prays for this county, and the families that are part of it. And what I wanted to talk tonight involves this umbrella. I think it's kind of already been spoken. There's not a person here. We've all gone through different stages. Some are children. Some are young men, young women. Some are moms and dads. Some are grandmoms and granddads. We're always moving forward. We can never go back, but we're always moving forward. And even if you're here and your family's past you, maybe you're by yourself, you can still become a spiritual mom or a spiritual dad in the lives of young people and young men and young women throughout this community. I felt this morning, I was reading the Ten Commandments. And you know what's so funny about the Ten Commandments? The first four are about my relation, your relationship with God. But the next six are all about our relationship, my relationship with you, your relationship with me. But I thought it was real funny, or not funny, but in the one of the commandments it says, part of the third commandment, where we should not have an idol before our God. Because I am a jealous God, punishing the sins of the father upon their children to the third and fourth generation. He didn't say I'm punishing the sins of the mother. He said I'm punishing the sins of the father. When Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, he talked to Eve, but Adam's the one he blamed. Adam's the one he blamed. Because you see, God has, in the scheme of things, a divine order. And for the families, that divine order is going to start with the dads and move down. But he goes on to say, but the generations, he'll punish to the third and fourth generations, those who hate me, he says, but showing my love to 1,000 generations, that those that love and keep my commands. And I looked up that word hate in the Hebrew, in soned, and the prime root means to hate personally like an enemy. Now, I know I can look out here and no one out here is going to basically say they hate God, okay, as an enemy. We don't look at him like that. But let's look at the other 6 commandments about you and I and what that says in our relationship to each other. You know, we all can break the law. I break it probably more than I care on a daily basis, maybe speeding, going back and forth to work. And thank God, you know, you don't get a DUI or you don't kill somebody. Or I can break it by stealing. God forbid I never murder somebody. You can commit adultery. You can lie about your neighbors. You can desire someone else what they have, their house, so on and so forth, their wives, everything they have. We're all guilty somewhere in here. If we're really honest, Scripture says if you look at a woman or if you look at a man lustfully, it's so you've committed it in your heart. But God's grace, people, is way beyond this. And the reason I bring this up is because I want you to understand the divine line and how all we have to do is ask God forgiveness and we can move forward. I never try to share other people's moccasins. I can only share my moccasins, okay? I'll be 66 years old this coming summer. Yes, I've been at Youthtown 20 years. But Lynn and I will be celebrating our 45th anniversary this March. We met at the University of Memphis. We had sex one time, and Lynn became pregnant. And we got married. I was raised Catholic. She was raised Church of Christ. We were going to get married. We went to Hernando, Mississippi. Anybody here my age ever heard of Hernando's Hideaway? Okay. We went to Hernando, Mississippi to get married. We got married by a justice of the peace. In his office, there was a picture of Jesse James on the wall, a potbelly stove, and a hole in the floor that you could put this podium in. Now, our daughter, was born some 8 months after that. And the thing I learned from that over the years, and as Lynn and I went on in life, you would have thought we were a made-to-order couple from Sears and Roebuck, but we're just shallow. I had committed adultery. I had gone through a lot of money with an excessive gambling problem and a lot of other things, drinking, just you name it. But yet we were in church, grew a youth group from 5 or 8 to 75 on Wednesday nights, and everything seemed right. But we were living a lie. And one of the things I've learned, I'm going to speak it to you tonight, because I'm not the only Lone Ranger here that had premarital sex, okay? And one of the things I've learned with those people is, in today's society, we've got a 50-some% divorce rate in the church. And what I found is that so many couples, young couples today, they're having premarital sex. They may even have it on Wednesday or Thursday night. They go to the rehearsal dinner or the rehearsal for their wedding on Friday. They go through the motion. And on Saturday, you've got a pastor or a priest, someone that's asking God to bless this marriage. Probably 90% of the time, God's not in the house, because God can't bless the sin of intercourse and make it believe everything is okay. And so many times we start our marriage on the sand of premarital sex. And when all hell breaks loose, we blame it on money, we blame it on this, we blame it on that. But what really has happened, it was conceived on the sand of sin. Now, so many times you can't go back and get married, okay? Might not be a bad idea to renew your vows. But what you can do, and even if you are divorced, if that was the case, you can get on your knees and ask God, God, forgive me of my ignorance of that. And I ask you to come in because I need you to bless my offspring. Why? Because we had a daughter. I had a marriage license. Okay? And when my daughter Shannon was born at Methodist Hospital in 1968, she was legitimate in the eyes of man. But in the eyes of God, because she was conceived out of wedlock and we had not repented, she was illegitimate. And so what we have learned to do, and what we tell young couples, old couples, grandparents, I even had to go through this scenario with my own dad. 10 years ago, he came to visit me at 80-some years old, and he had his girlfriend, Josephine, with him. And I said, you can sleep in separate rooms in the house, or I'll buy you separate motel rooms. But you're not sleeping together until you're married. But it is so important, people, that we get a hold of this. And if that's your case, then just ask God's forgiveness. And the reason I brought this to me is what happened to my family. I call this my spiritual umbrella, and everyone needs one. See, when we got married, we were not real spiritual. Yeah, we did the church thing. We went and we did these things. But most of the time, people, I walked around just like this umbrella is right here. I was not out over my family. I was not protecting my family, just like if it was raining out there right now, and I walked out there like this, and you're standing next to me, guess what? We're both going to get wet. And that's the way we as a family were going through life. And that's what I'm afraid of that's going on with our families in America today. We're walking around, Dad, God didn't say he was going to punish the sins of the mom. He said he was going to punish the sins of the father. We're walking around and we don't have our spiritual umbrella, if I can get it, up over my family, up over my grandkids, up over my ministry, up over where I work, up over my friends. But Dad, there's a real lesson I want to tell you about this. It's so important because not everybody is a male. We have a lot of young ladies here. And as long as your children, Dad, are in your home, okay, and they're under your umbrella spiritually, God's going to honor that and protect them. But once it came time for my 3 daughters to move out of our home, to leave and cleave to who they were marrying, check out your son-in-law, your future son-in-law. You know, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Well, what kind of fruit do you have? You know, that's what somebody always asks me. I'm a believer. Well, you know, for a long time, I said, man, that's great. But now I said, show me your fruit. Which fruit? Tell me your testimony. Who'd you share your testimony with? See, we're no longer people of testimony. But once your daughter leaves your house, and if once Lynn Rowland left her house and came to live with Nick Pappas, she was under my umbrella that was probably in the trunk of my car with my golf clubs. Okay? But you've got to be very careful what's going on with your kids. And for your dads, oh dads, I don't care how distant you are from your kids, when you can start to build that relationship back with them. You know, people stole and did all kinds of things for a father's blessing. You know, y'all got about Jacob and Esau. Esau hated the blessing. He didn't even want the blessing. He sold it because his stomach was hungry. And his brother helped perpetrate a lie that his mother made up and everything so that he could get the blessing. But there's another father's blessing in Scripture. And I'm reminded of the prodigal. Dad gave his son part of his inheritance. He went and squandered it. But when he came back, Dad knew he was coming back because he wanted to be part of that family again. And he didn't run to him and call him a dummy, a jerk. You're never going to amount to anything. I told you were going to, whatever this fortune is that you just gave away, squandered away. No. You're back. The most important words your kids are ever going to hear, dads, is, I love you, and I believe in you no matter what. You know, I can still remember, my dad's 94. He's living with my wife and I. And I can still remember every high school football game, every high school basketball game, every high school baseball game I ever played in, and some in college because it was a matter of distance in. When I went out on the field, I always looked up and my eyes met my dad. And that was an important thing to me as a young man. And so, no matter how estranged you are from your kids today, God can bring that full circle. God is a God of restoration. The umbrella I got you guys is not a golf umbrella. It's a small umbrella, okay? It's a small umbrella that might cover you and maybe one other person. I got the small one because they were cheaper, but really, I got the small one because it represented a oneness. If you put that umbrella on and grow in the things of God, then in a year's period of time, Rod told you how God has expanded his family. I can remember Greg and Tierra. They were childless for years. Childless for years. Even though they were spiritual parents to hundreds of young girls and young guys. And then all of a sudden, they get precious in the King, and they had a lot of troubles with that, especially their daughter. But what a testimony of what fatherhood and motherhood and family is about. It's unbelievable. So Sandy, to the youth of Jackson, Tennessee, that are going to benefit from the dads, and really in the course of time, the moms that are going to come and play. Every day, when I go to work at Youth Town and a new kid comes, and we'll have several hundred kids in a year's come, 80% or better, the only person there is mom. A lot of times grandma, maybe every now and then granddad, especially if granddad's of my generation. But most of the time it's mom. And I remember I had a kid the other day that there was 2 sets of parents there. And, I said, man, I'm going to tell you something. There would be almost every kid that's here would love to trade places with you today. And he looked at me and said, what do you want, man? What are you talking about? I said, because you've got two people that love you. And they're both here in your corner. Dads, God bless you. But dads, it's time to be dads. And if anything I've spoken tonight registered in your heart, God is a God of restoration. God can reclaim everything. And part of my prayer, if I were you, is, Lord, if I was out of your will in this thing and I looked at it ignorantly, I claim the legitimacy for my family. I claim back what the enemy has stolen from me in lost years with my family. I claim back the blessings, the material blessings he's stolen. And I will, Lord, give my portion of that to your kingdom work like this to help others realize. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
We have loved Nick Pappas for 18 years. He's really been a blessing in our lives. At this time, we're going to have Mike Roby come in his own way. You got to know Mike Roby to receive him as he is. He's wonderful. Come on, clap for Mike.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here, to be a part of the Greer campaign, and meeting Jabari and Sandy a few years ago at a Rotary meeting, and her telling me her idea and her plan. It was so wonderful to hear a woman of God saying our men need to be in the community and to quit being beaten to death. And I'll go, come on, thank you. And I want to say before I get started, how many think Nick comes up here just a little bit too much? Be honest, do you think that? Okay, Nick, if you worked in an emergency room and you see people shot all the time, or my eye doctor that sees eye injuries all the time, you say, wear glasses when you're cutting the grass. Okay, don't play with guns. I fixed 3 kids this year who were shot. All right, 10,000 young men have come through Youth Town. And in the time Nick's been there, about 6,000 of them have come through there. He doesn't have time to play. I see him, when I first started there, I'm like, whoa. He like walks up to a stranger and just really starts asking questions. And I got to thinking, he sees the result. And that's why we're so intertwined with your ministry, Sandy. We see the result of no dads being there. And not there, sometimes not the fault of theirs, but because of moms or the judges or whatever. But I'm with a group of men that come from all walks of life. It's awesome. We've got estate planners in there, got guys cutting hair, got guys that wash cars, sharing and encouraging. And guess what? Guys don't talk about our feelings a whole lot. But it is something powerful when men of God get together and start with prayer and then encourage one another. And then I've used that, what I've learned, seriously, yelling up the stairs at my daughter. I'm like, God, give me what I just learned tonight. And using it. And my kids honestly see the difference. It's just a matter of encouraging, because women do that. They share with one another and they give ideas to each other. I want to tell you real quickly about something I read today. A man named Ron Lemming. Does anybody know that name? I love hero stories. A man named Ron Lemming and his son, Ron Lemming Jr., they look like the California bikers, you know, the big mustaches, big old dudes. And they were hunting in Wyoming last week, elk hunting with a bow and arrow. Did y'all read the story? It was a National Geographic. And they made themselves to smell like an elk, like us crazy hunters do. I've been in a tree the last 5 weekends with a bow and arrow myself. He was on the ground and stepped over a hill, and there was a big old grizzly bear that likes eating elk standing there. So the bear attacked Ron Lemming Jr., about a 40-year-old dude, bad dude. He was running up the hill to his dad saying, "Run, there's a bear down here." And the dad, Ron Sr., looked back while his son was getting mauled and bitten in his femoral artery, and his face was already scratched with 3 giant claw marks on his face, and said, I looked down and I said, "That's the boy that I held in my arms as a baby. There ain't no way I'm leaving that boy there." So he picks up his bow and made a shot, miraculous shot, at a 500-pound grizzly bear right through the artery of the heart, 1 in a million shot, and killed the bear that was attacking his son and saved his son's life. Then he loaded him up on a horse and rode him 6 hours down the mountain and 30 more miles to the hospital. The funny part is that only men will understand. If you Google images, there's like 25 pictures of the bear that they killed before they left. And both of them are standing behind it. One's got 3 gigantic needing stitches scars holding his bow behind a bear, smiling with his mouth hanging down. And then the dad is showing a picture of all of his gear that he used. And I'm like, I don't know why I can't explain it, but I would have done exactly the same thing. And I'm just letting you know that there's some things men understand and there are other things that women understand. And that's why it takes both. And that village does include dads. That village does include police, and it includes social workers and therapists and youth town and churches and ministers. Every Monday morning, I see probably about a dozen people in here I see at Youth Town sitting next to our boys who 90 to 100% sometimes have no dads in their lives. Just sitting there next to them, making a relationship with them, and then eventually giving the blessing of the Father to these young men. And it is such a blessing. And I encourage you to do that. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Miss Sandy's been to speak there. Many of you have been out there to speak to these young men. And they just need the blessing of the Father. My son Lance is the 3rd generation of the righteous of 1,000. He's named for the namesake of my grandfather, Lance Roby, the drunk, the town drunk. And his father was a drunk, Jose Presser Roby. And I don't know how far back that goes. My dad ended it. He was the generation of the righteous, 1,000 deep. And I told that to my son Lance, "You're the 4th generation." He said, "That's cool, because I kind of have a boring testimony." I said, "Yours is awesome, son. You will continue that." The seeds that I would like for you to plant are the seeds of hope in the young men in this community. Be brave. When you see a fight on a corner, stop and intervene. I do that. I may get killed doing that, but I do that. And I encourage everyone to be a part of a child's life. Sandy has washed clothes from some of our Youth Town boys, taking them to the laundromat and saying, "Here's how you do it, son." We need to do that. Be involved. Be very involved. You never grow weary. My mom and stepdad have retired. Woody has retired. They're out at Youth Town every day. And do something. And most of you here are already doing that. I'm preaching to the choir. Sandy's ministry is reaching men in a powerful and mighty way to go out and do what we're supposed to do, that God ordained and anointed us to do. And I love seeing Judd here with his precious daughter. And I love seeing families that are whole. But the ones that are broken are the ones that we really need to encourage the dads to make sure you stay in there. And the dads want to be, please, even if they're not great dads, please let them be there. Because they're the first example of a man your daughter will ever know to love. I encourage you to support the Greer campaign. I love asking for money for things that I believe in. I believe in Youth Town. End of the year's coming up. Start writing them checks. Give, please give. Governments can't fix things, Scott Conger. You know that. They can't. The government is wonderful, but it can't. It's great individuals that do that. And I've probably seen 3/4 of you in here, the name at the bottom of the check, to help our ministry and to help the Greer campaign, to help these men who some are in arrears with child support and they're unable to help. And the Greer campaign helps with that. The Greer campaign helps with the turkey handoff, with the needs, washing the clothes. So I encourage you specifically, I'm always specific, get online and give online. Or write a check tonight and say, here's how I can help. Because they do need funds in order to continue doing this and to expand. So I encourage you to do that. And I solicit your prayers too. Because prayer is powerful. If you remember Rod McKinney, we stopped in Parsons, walked down the road, smoked a cigar, and I said, let's just pray for that. Do you remember that? And isn't it great when you look back and say, I remember praying for that and God answered that prayer. And what did your daughter say on her 13th birthday? There she is. What did she say? She said, my favorite present is that you're here. Isn't that awesome?
We want to welcome to the stage Magi. We're preparing for our commencement service. We're going to ask the Executive Director, Sandy Stewart, if she would come, Mike Roby, Rod McKinney, and Eric Bausch, if they would come at this time for our commencement ceremony. It has been an honor for me to MC you tonight, MC for Greer campaign tonight. And we ask that you keep the Greer campaign in your prayers. And we really pray that you will sow a seed tonight for the Greer campaign. Now for our commencement ceremony. Thank you.
We have 9 awesome fathers graduating. However, we only have 8 here tonight. One had to go out of town for a job interview, and we wish him Godspeed. His name is Mark Watson. We will be graduating all the other 8, and we ask them to come forward at this time. They're awesome fathers, and they are awesome community leaders, and we have the pleasure of introducing them as Greer campaign fathers tonight.
Brian Buchholz. Mitch Miller. Michael Greer, Jr.
Michael Trailer. Benjamin Fincham. Mr. Kyle Lamb. William Comer III. Kevin Brandon. Antonio Williamson.
The fathers and their children. This year is more about families. More of our men are married. More of our men have significant others. More of our men have women who have been in their lives and who have made the difference. So this time is dedicated to you ladies for making the difference for the fathers. Magi is going to take us out. We ask that moments of memories be made today. Fathers, you may dance with your daughters. You may dance with the woman in your life who has supported you. Tonight is about celebrating fatherhood. Don't forget Ron Jackson, 2012, the day before Father's Day, downtown Jackson. God